Okay guys, we're going into our number 4 of 5 videos. This time we're going to talk about business budgeting. Okay, I know guys, this can be a sleep-inducing situation, but let's go to the comfortable end of the building and let's talk about how you can budget easily, simply, with almost no time, in a way that makes you money. Let's go. Okay, my favorite corner of the building when I'm on video here talking to people, budgeting. I was the treasurer of the Wisconsin Writers Association here in the state of Wisconsin. That's where I'm located. And I was there for like 4 or 5 years, and I got to tell you, I hated the budgeting. These people were insane. These budgeting sessions were wish lists. They had nothing anchored in reality. In other words, they had this wish list about how much money we'd like to bring in, and then they had how much they're going to spend. The spending always came up. The income, the revenue did not. So, how do you run your business budgeting without doing crazy things? Well, I'm going to tell you how I do budgeting in my business. And I've never used budgeting software. I know that like QuickBooks has budgeting in it. I've never budgeted in that. I only do budgeting when I do nonprofit work and they hire me out and they say, please Keith, would you help us? And it's the stuff that I do for free that kills me. But anyway guys, this is how you do it in your business. This is how I do it in mine. Number 1, the only competition you have in this entire world is you, okay? So here's what you're going to do. You're going to build your budget based upon what you did the previous year. How do I do budgeting in my accounting practice? Every time I look at my accounts, and I look at them basically every day, so I'll pull them up and then I'll do a comparison last year to this year. Number 1, is revenue higher than last year? There you go, I'm at the budget. Number 2, are my expenses lower? That's a little harder because inflation is going to hurt a little bit. But if revenues are going higher, and of course then maybe I have more employees, maybe I have more computer expense, yes, it has to be comparable. Revenue going up, bottom line going up, I'm a happy man. But how do you do these things that are a little bit stranger? So I have this course coming up, 31 Tax Tips for Solopreneurs. What am I going to do for that? It's not built into my budget. There's no previous year. This is where I do kind of have a wish list, but I don't necessarily do it as a wish list. I do it as goals. How do I do the goals? I actually don't do it in QuickBooks. I actually have an Excel worksheet, and I have a goal for how many tax returns I'd like to e-file in a year, how much money I'm going to bring in for bookkeeping and write-up is what it's called in our industry, and how much am I going to bring in tax preparation, how much will I bring in for consulting, and I want to have basically a goal of what I would like to do for this course. If it doesn't materialize, then the expenses don't materialize. There's about a $5,000 or so expense just for some of the equipment and some of the setup, maybe a little bit more for this course, but realistically it's not a real big expense in my situation, and we're doing a few different things than normal. But at the end of the day, it's kind of a wish list, but it's based in reality. And I keep the goals low enough so that I can get them, and then I keep on trying to hip-hop over them. Now there's one last thing about this. When I started my tax practice back in the 1980s, I was doing this literally on like a notepad, and then I went to columnar pads, and then I went to Excel. Now the reason why that's important is because sometimes you have certain goals and certain budgeting, if you will, that can get out of control. So I always want to do one more. I had to do more tax returns each year than the year before. And eventually, my building was running from like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning till 2 o'clock the next morning. The building basically cooled off for about 2 hours and then went back at it again 7 days a week. It was a lot of work and it wasn't as profitable as it should have been. So literally I had to make a conscious decision where I did my budgeting, where I said I'm going to take 400 clients that aren't making me any money, and I give them a letter saying I can't do your stuff anymore. That's not always an easy thing to do, but if you can't get rid of clients that don't make money, then you're not going to live very long in your business, or at least you're going to be working much harder than you have to. So that's a simple way to do some budgeting without getting a lot of budgeting software, spending a lot of time in it. And hopefully this works for you. See you in the last video.